Hello, how are you guys doing today? I hope that you're ready for this weekend and good opportunity to spend some time in Sunday school just going through our next part of our story with Abraham. We're in Genesis 18 and we're actually finishing up the chapter. If you remember last week, we discussed that Abraham had three visitors who came to visit him, and in the process of spending time with them, it was revealed to him that within a year he would have a son with his wife Sarah. And if you remember, Sarah laughed, and it was overheard by the Lord, and the Lord revealed her heart and revealed what was going on, and then it just abruptly ended there. Well, now we pick up again this week in our verse 16 here of Genesis chapter 18, and we have Abraham get up with the three men, and they begin to walk away, and as they're walking, we're let into a conversation that the Lord is having with himself about deciding whether or not he wants to tell Abraham what his plans are. And he decides that because of the promise he's given to Abraham, that through him a great nation would come, and that many would be blessed through him, and that Abraham was supposed to do a good job of taking care of his family, that he would go ahead and reveal that he had noticed the wickedness of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and as a result of that, he was going to destroy these cities from the face of the earth. And so we then have an interesting conversation that begins to happen. Abraham starts to talk to the Lord and begins to plead, and he starts out by very cautiously recognizing that the Lord is greater than he is, and the Lord is far superior to him, and he begins working through the process of asking the Lord questions. What about if there's 50 righteous men? What if there's 5 less than that? What if there's only 45 or 40 or 30, and it continues to work its way down until we get to the very end where he says 10. 6 times he's asked the Lord to spare the city on account of 10 righteous men. Now, one would think that Lot with his family would at least have had enough impact that there would be 10 righteous people in this city, but God was willing to say, for the sake of 10, I will spare the city. And so, what can we learn from this lesson? Next week we'll get into the discussion about what happens as a result of what they find out about the number of righteous people in the city, but what can we learn from this discussion? Well, here's the first thing I think that we could talk about. That Abraham was willing to ask God some really tough questions, even though it seemed that the heart of the Lord was already made up. And in our prayer life, sometimes it's really tough for us to ask God some tough questions. We can look throughout the Bible and we can see places where folks have prayed in what seemed like it was a hopeless prayer, and we're willing to ask God those tough questions. But yet so many times as believers, we don't do that. I mean, we have the examples of Christ praying in the garden before his crucifixion and punishment, and praying, Lord, please take this away from me. And here we have the example of Abraham asking God to spare the city because of a certain number of righteous people. But so many times we're afraid to ask God some really tough questions. And so I want you to spend some time, talking with your group, like what are some of the reasons why we don't do that? I think sometimes it comes down to a lack of faith that it even really matters. Sometimes it comes down to a lack of faith in the power of God. We just want to talk about that a little bit. And to be honest, I think it'd be a good time to lead into a discussion with your small group about what's your prayer life really like. Because if we're honest with ourselves, we spend a lot of time in churches and in Christian environments encouraging people to do their devotions, but we don't spend a whole lot of time encouraging them to have a solid prayer life. And I think that'd be a good discussion to have, like, what does it mean to always be in a state of prayer? And what does it mean to boldly plead with Christ, with God, because we have Christ as our intercessor? Then, the second question that I have is that, we struggle with the idea of God being a good and loving God and still judging entire cities or nations based upon the wickedness that's there. This is one of the realms that is attacked about God by critics of God's word, is that God can't say he's loving and then attack these nations like this. Well, I don't think that that's necessarily true. So we want to spend a little bit of time just talking about what gives God the right to judge entire civilizations like this. And how can that be compatible with him being loving? I've given you a list of verses that are there. They'll be on the handout tomorrow as well that you'll want to work through with your group, just pointing out the authority that God has and the fact that he is a righteous judge. So you'll want to spend some time with that. That would be a question that I think you will want to do a little bit of preparation time for before you come into class tomorrow. Then the last question is this, is if God is the ultimate judge of the earth, then is our prayer even effective? And that kind of leads back to question 1, but it ties those two together. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. I hope that you'll have a great day serving the Lord and being able to engage with your teens and with the people in your small group. Have a great week and look forward to seeing you.